Right. And we are good to go. Right. Well, again, good evening, everyone. And after a slight little hiatus, we're going to bring you our second match of the day session with Julian and Seb. I will hand over straight away to talk about the World Championship Final 2019.
Okay, so thanks very much, Julia. So the history of this tournament is that Eli Roini from Israel, who is at the top of the screen playing the black pieces, he won the undefeated bracket in the 2019 World Championship in Monte Carlo. And at the bottom of the screen is Petko Kostadinov from America, and he won the fighters final to get into the final to play Eli. And in the first long match, Petko managed to come from behind and secure a victory. So that left them both in the position where they'd won all their matches, but with one defeat. So now they're playing a playoff match to decide who is actually the world champion. Matches to 13 points. This is the first game with White on roll with a double one to play. And White's really got two choices. So he can secure his defense, which is the move Petko played, which is 24 to 22 twice. So he makes an advanced anchor against Black's potential priming structure. Or the other play he can make is to make the 4 points, so work on building his prime. So what do you think, Seb? Why do you think that you should play the attacking play or the defensive play?
Yeah, as I said before, like I think we've made great progress on priming, containing that back checker, and the efficiency, I guess, the solidity of four points in a row with the potential of making it again from the back. Almost job done in terms of winning the priming battle. And as I mentioned, I think we can easily get out of being primed on the other side, as it's not fully developed yet. You know, if he had the 5, if Black had the 5 point already, or the 7, then maybe our priorities shift, right? As we have 2 men back versus 1. But yeah, solid prime here.
Yeah, so I thought of this as there was something in McGreal's book where he talked about using men effectively, and he would see this, that the White has got 2 spares on the 6 and the 5 point. So what he would like to do is use them to make the 4 point ideally, and it just so happens he's got the perfect role to do it. So with the 1, perhaps you could show the solution now, Julia. So I've actually only rolled out 2 plays here, which is Petko's play of making the 22 point, the advanced anchor, and making the 4 point and splitting. And Seb also came up with another suggestion that when you make the 4 point, you can use the last one to play 9 to 8 to try and work on the back of the prime. And unfortunately, I haven't rolled that out, but you'll see that's the 3rd move down, and the computer is saying that that's very close to the top play. Whereas Petko's play, it says, is a blunder. And I think aside from what we've discussed as well, is to say that the 22 point isn't really a great anchor. So at the moment, Black's still got all his checkers in front of it. So even if you make the 22 point, there's still a potential you will get primed there. It's definitely improvement than being on the 24 point, but it's not a solution to all your problems. So maybe we can go on to the next problem. So now we've got the same game a few moves later, and I think it's fair to say this is a great illustration of what happens when you pick the wrong plan. So Petko's got his advanced anchor on the 22 point he's made, so he's perfectly safe there. But Black's been able to construct a block in front of him and managed to escape his last back checker because the 4 point was open. So now Eli is deciding whether to double this position.
Yeah, so we've looked at a lot of holding game positions, right? Whereby one side has an anchor sort of defending, and the other side is escaped, essentially, the 2 back checkers. And they all have good winning chances, usually between like 70-75%. So a bit of the race plus some bonus stuff going on. But here there's like a third guy back, which is going to increase the gammons, and he's also just inefficient third checker, right? That needs to be part of the winning plan on the other side.
Yeah.
So I think the cube is really easy, and I think it's also easy just to give up, right? Especially when someone has the 7 point in that holding game coming home. We know that as a strong reference of improvement.
Yes, but White doesn't have to have a direct exit here. So it's not as though if he hits a shot immediately, he can win the game straight away. He's really got to win the fight for the 5 point before he can consider going forwards. So if we could see the answer. So you're exactly right, Steph. The computer is saying this is a very easy double, and if anything, it's saying there might be a little doubt about it being too good, on the basis that nothing really bad can happen quickly. And as you said, you'll see there's a few gammons here that Black's winning 10% gammons, but he's close to 80% wins with his very strong structure against 3 checkers back, with the high anchor being only on the 3 point. So the player's got this one right. It went double pass. So now Ellie is Black is leading 1-0 with a double 2 to play in the second game.
Alrighty. So, okay, again, it's kind of like a holding game. He's escaped both his back checkers. So he's up significantly in the race, and he's just trying to come home, right? Which means release contact or break or get away from contact instead of creating it to block and create other
so the big race lead means that if it's Black, we can get into a race, we're virtually guaranteed to win.
Right. Now, if we were trying to maximize contact, we're usually, building points 5, 6 away. So we know they are the most awkward or most difficult to clear in the future. So normally we make the 4 point anyway with double 2 because it unstacks, and it's creating a landing spot for other checkers to facilitate easily clearing the other points later. So I'd definitely make the 4 point because it's just too pretty to pass up. And then the other 2, I would just get off the contact because that's the plan. The contact is 6 away. So I would just shift the 11 point to the 9 point. And you see by doing that, now I'm going to get 4 safe landing spots to clear the 9 point. And I've also built like a perfect position to double, I think. So that would be part of the value, I think.
Okay, so the alternative play would be to make the 4 point and then clear the midpoint, because often in these positions you have problems clearing the midpoint. So you can certainly do something good with the other two twos as well as making the 4 point.
Mm-hmm.
So you still favour making the 9 point rather than clearing the midpoint?
Yeah, I really don't want to have like the 6 away contact or like 4, like a pile of checkers stacked up there. That's going to be the troublesome point to clear. I'm going to have lots of time to clear the midpoint either naturally with all the spares. It's about flexibility and timing, right? By shifting 11 to 9, then I can clear the 9 point, and I still keep like all the spares to play to the 4 to the 3. Yeah, it works.
Yeah, so you're exactly right. So if we could see the answer, Julia. So Ellie decided that he wanted to clear the midpoint, that was his highest priority, and you can see the computer doesn't like this idea at all. And I think there's 2 problems. So first of all, that you get some immediate bad 6s because the 6s from the 11 point land on the 5 point he's got made, so you can't play those. And your other 6s hit on the 2 point, which will probably give him a direct shot. So you've got short-term problems with putting all your checkers on the 11 point. And with your play of making the 9 point, you've got a lot of 6s whereby you just give up the 9 point and say, well, okay, at least I haven't left a shot. Maybe I'll clear the midpoint later. And so that's the short-term problems with playing 2 down. But there's also some long-term problems. So having made this point 6 away from the anchor, it's the hardest one to clear. So I'm not sure if you remember, Seb, when we looked at some of these holding games where White's got the 5 point anchor against the 11 point, and they're actually the positions where White can take with the biggest racing deficit. So actually, if Black's just got the 11 point trying to come home against the 5 point and he's holding the 6 point, but he's lost the 8 point, that White can actually take when he's 80 pips down in the race. So it's extraordinary. It's that most of the time when black clears the 11 point safely, white actually loses a running gammon. But he gets so many shots. Whenever he gets a shot, he's virtually even money to hit. So you can take with virtually no racing chance whatsoever and a lot of gammon losses. So I think the long-term problem making the 11 point that you're basically putting all your checkers on the point that is the worst one you've got. So let's get to the next one. So again, things have progressed as we would expect. So Ellie's managed to clear his midpoint with his double 2, but he's stuck with his 11 point that's 6 away from the anchor. So Petco as white has improved his prime. He's ready to win when he hits. And black's got his doubling decision now as to whether he should cube now or whether he should still be waiting.
Okay. So he's 32 pips up, which is usually a good start. And he's threatening to do lots of other good things, like make the 2 point or just clear the 11. So I think the cube from black is pretty easy. Has a good valuable position anyway, and chances to improve easily. Not many bad numbers. And obviously you can see if he clears the 11 point, he loses market by a mile. We just discussed the contact 6 away, but the other part of that is, do you have a winning position if you hit? And white's forward solid 5 prime, well, perfect 4 point board is perfect. So we have all the ingredients, I think, to take happily. And yeah.
So if we could go to the answer.
Ooh.
So I think maybe the interesting thing with this is white's checker on the 2 point, whether it's an advantage or a disadvantage. And I think for the last few moves, it's been an advantage that it's been causing black problems. But now he's got all his spares aiming at the 2 point. That one possible scenario is he just points on the 2 point next time, and if white gets stuck on the bar, black can maybe clear the 11 point and win the game straight away. So as you say, the double is clear, but the take is clear as well for white, because he is ready to win the game now, and if he can get the guy on the 2 point out safely, then he's got a very easy take based on the 0.6 away from him. So Ellie actually missed the double here. He still felt that because he's got the 11 point that there's too much contact, and it's a surprising decision because it's like he played the game to say, well, okay, I want to get to the 11 points and then double, and having stripped the 11 points and now threatening to clear it, he's saying, well, it's not good enough to double. Okay, so let's move on. Subsequently, he missed this double, but he found a good position to cube white out in the next couple of rolls. So now black's leading 2-0, and we have prime against prime game where black's deciding whether to cube again.
All right, yeah, Ellie on roll as black again. So this time he's 22 pips behind, but that is definitely what you want in a prime versus prime. So
yes, because if you're behind in the race, what it implies is that you can keep your prime longer than your opponent. So if nothing much changes, then white will have to break his prime before black.
Yeah, time to play the other checkers. So again, I think from black's perspective, with the solid 5 prime, I mean, what an asset against the 2 guys stuck on the 24 and no outfield for white. So I think the cube is really easy again from black's side. As white, with the 2 guys, well, with the 2 point already made, they're kind of a wasted investment. It just looks so difficult what we have to roll a 2 and then a 6 and then another 2 and another 6 and then traverse the outfield somehow before we just crunch the 8 point and the 7 point. It just looks like slow death position, one of those deep anchor games which has no hope, which unfortunately I take way too many of. So I would run away from this one.
Yeah. So let's have a look at the answer, and you're spot on with it. So the two key factors I think are, as you say, that black has the better timing. He's behind in the race, so if nothing changes, he'll be able to keep his prime longer. And he's actually got the superior prime because he's got solid 5 prime, and white's got 5 points, but 2 gaps in the middle. And it's urgent to double here because white's position might collapse very quickly. Big numbers are very bad for white. The or basically any 6, he has to dump another guy on the 2 points. So Black's definitely got to double now, and as you correctly said, White's game is definitely short of a take here.
Yeah, it gets gammoned more than you think, more than I expected as well.
Yeah, so I mean the problem is once your prime breaks, that you don't have much of a defense, and Black can win at his leisure and maybe hit a 3rd checker if there's another block turns up, or if White's board collapses completely, he could start making a trap play. So as you say, that it doesn't look as though you're going to lose a gammon at the moment, but when the game shifts against you, that you have a long arduous struggle to prevent Black finding some way from winning a gammon. So again, the cube action was right. Ellie doubled, Petco passed. So now Black's leading 3-0 to 11. Sorry, 3-0 to 13.
All
So
right.
now we have White to play a 3-1.
So 3-1, 3-0. Lots of choices. So we're priming. Okay, we're way down in the race. So we want to prime his back checkers, I guess. That's because he's trying to run, right? He wants to escape these checkers to just get home. So it also got kind of an awkward structure on the other side, and just all the checkers, right? 13 checkers. So I wouldn't think about splitting or anything. I would just let his position collapse and focus my energy here. So what can we do? We can make this 7, or we can make the 10 actually. 10's kind of nice because that's obviously blocking him, as we just said, with the 6 away contact. That's kind of heading him in there. But that also gives us the chance to make the 7 afterwards, naturally with a 6, right? And then we'd have a 5 prime. So making the 10 has the benefit that we can make the 7 afterwards, and it's just a better priming point. If we make the 7, very difficult to then extend the prime from the back. And he's not going to hit with like 3-1 or 6-3 or anything. So yeah, that looks
So you've hit the nail on the head. So that I think the hardest point with this play is actually you got there by looking around for lots of different plays. And I think the easiest thing to do as White here is that last turn you slotted the bar point and you thought, well, okay, I'd really like to make the bar point. Now I haven't been hit. You roll a 3-1 and you think, well, that's a great number. I've made the bar point. I've got my 4 prime. There's no blocks. And you think, well, okay, that's got to be the right play. Your play is way superior. So if we go on to the solution. So I think the answer is, first of all, as you said, you're spot on in saying that at the moment you're hopelessly trapped on the 2 point, but if you split your back checkers, you open up the blitzing opportunity. So you definitely can't be doing that here. And this position, I would characterize, if you remember, I had a seminar I did with the UK BGF on what I called the 3-stage solution. And Black has definitely got to state 2 in that he's got an advanced anchor and he's got an immediate opportunity to jump over White's prime. Whereas White, on the other hand, he's moved up to the 23 point, but he's still comprehensively blocked. He's got to roll a combination number to jump over the prime. So the structure at the moment is that if nothing happens, White will be very likely to lose the game. So as White, this idea of making the 10 point means that now we kind of push Black into state 2 because he can only jump our prime with a combination number. And as you say, the duplication is very important, I think. So you're leaving the 3 to hit, but lots of the 3s are good anyway. So you can see the 3-1, 3-3, 3-6, that he all makes the 5 point and wins anyway. And then, as you again correctly said, is that the problem is if you make the 7 point, it's very difficult to make either the 9 or the 10 because all your builders for those are pushed back onto the midpoint. So making the 4th point now by making the 10 point gives you much more chances to make 5 blocking points on your next turn. So I can quite understand why Petco missed this because it just seems such a good roll to make the bar point, but as I say, the key is that you have to look around for another play and see if there's one that's even better. So now we move on to the next problem where White has now got a cube decision. So you can see White's managed to escape one of his back checkers. He's rolled a 3-6 to hit black on the 14 point, and black has conveniently stayed on the bar with a 5-6. So now white has a doubling decision.
Perfect. What we were waiting for. 3-0 down. Match hasn't gone well so far. This looks great, doesn't it? He's on the bar. We can hit 2 more checkers. So I think the only decision here is like, do we play on and just try and win the Gavin, which seems like a bit of a long way away in terms of we probably have to hit the second guy first. We could obviously just miss with like 6-1 or something, but then we actually have to win the Gavin and escape the last back man. Or do we just double? I guess it just depends how I'm feeling. I would be worried about missing, and then he just hits me back, right? So like I roll 6-1 or 6-2, and then he just comes in and anchors, and suddenly the game's level, and I feel a bit stupid then. So I would double. I think, and obviously as black, he's just happy to, I think, get out of this game and carry on the match from 3-1 up.
Yeah. Okay, so if we could see the answer.
What is it going to be? Oh, okay.
So it's close to being too good, as you say. That white can hit with 3s, 4s, and 5s, and certainly if he doesn't hit, as you say, that he can still lose the game. I mean, the black's got a formidable structure at the top of the board, so you know if he enters with 1-1 or 3-3 or 1-1 especially, you know it's like he might well be winning the game immediately.
Yeah, tempting. Just it looks fun to play. That's the only thing.
Yeah, but I think you came up with a very good comment in your assessment, is that we're a long way away from the Gavin, that we've still only got a 2-point board against his 2-point board. So if we're planning on closing him out, it's still many moves away.
Right.
So this one, I would certainly be scared enough to cube as white. And the thing I liked about this one was that I was talking to someone last week, and they reminded me of what I'll call Gaz's rule, which is the idea that whenever you have a sequence that goes hit pan, you should add double to the end of this sequence. That it's such a good psychological play that you've rolled a good number to hit your opponent, so you're positive, and then he's stayed on the bar against a 2-point board, so he's going to feel very negative, and you might well get an illogical reaction from him if you double on this psychological grounds. So aside from the position saying you should double, you might find that your opponent's so angry about staying on the bar he takes incorrectly, or he's so frustrated he passes without bothering to look at the position. So I'm quite keen on having learned from Gaz this rule of hit, fan, double.
Yeah, I like Gaz's rules. He's always finding the ways.
Okay, so next problem. So Petco's got on the scoreboard, which is good. So now he's only trailing 1-3, and he has a 4-3 to play from the bar.
Okay.
So this one I'd really like your input on, because I wasn't sure how I would find the right play here.
Yeah, well, this is the difficulty with getting problem positions, is that there's so much quiz factor, you know, and I'm just trying to think about them if they came up over the board, how I would approach them, what I would honestly play, and not try and think about, you know, oh, why are you showing this position? Is it right to hit 4-1, you know, and get lost in that? So here, let's try and break it down simply. Early game, we're up 13, so we're up 20 after the roll. Okay, so we're just running home, I guess. So the 4 looks natural to anchor. That looks like the strongest 4 anyway, because we don't want to come with the 3. So we anchor, and then the 3. Well, we don't have to do anything now. We're up 20 pips, right? So it makes sense just to play 16, 13, and then no blots. Everything's secure, and we just continue. He's got 4 blots. Okay, he makes the 5-point, but we have the best possible anchor already secured, and then we can focus on developing the offense. So I think I'll just keep it simple, do that, and follow the theory of the race.
Okay, right. So you're spot on, and you've educated me on the position. So you'll see what Petco went for is that, as you say, making the anchor with the 4 is clear, and then he chose to hit loose with the 3 on the 3-point. So I think
Mhm.
his plan is to say, well, okay, I don't want black to make the 5 point at the top of the board. So if I take away half his roll, that might well stop him. But there's a high price you pay for this. And whenever you hit your opponent, you want to look and say which points have you got in board, which numbers can't he use to enter, and how will those numbers play if he rolls one of them. So here you've got 2 points in board, you've got the 6 point and the 4 point. So if you hit him and he enters with 2 6, what can he do with the 6? And he's got a good 6, he can make the 5 point with the 6. So you haven't stopped him when he rolls a 6 something. And the other point you've got is the 4 point. So let's say he enters with 2 4, what can he do with that? Well, you've left a blot on the 9 point at the top of the board for him to hit. So there aren't really any good options. If you hit him loose, the only good scenario for you is that he stays on the bar.
Mhm.
So it seems, as you say, that you take what you got here. So you've got your advanced anchor, you've got all the black blots to shoot at that he's got to do something with next time, and you've got your race lead that you're assured you're going to have because you're not going to get hit next time.
Yeah, sounds like a good deal.
Okay, so let's go on to the next one. So this is still the same game. So it's changed a bit. So white, for some reason, seems to have got pushed back to the 23 point, but black's managed to make the 20 points between our 4 and 6 points. So white's now got a double 4 to play is the problem.
Okay, double 4. So what can we do first of all? Gonna find some options. We can make the 9 points. We could make 2 points. We could play 11-7. That doesn't work. So generally, doubles are very difficult, aren't they? Because they're providers with lots of options, lots of opportunities to go wrong. But generally, I'm looking to find the best combination value of all 4 parts of the double that work well together. It's quickly scanning. It looks like we have to leave a shot whatever we do.
Yes. So that I think is the problem with this play, that 3 of the 4s play beautifully, but the 4th one you're not going to like whatever you do.
Right. So again, like falling back on standard theory, if we're going to have to leave risk anyway, we might as well do it with the biggest gain or the biggest improvement in the position. We know that a strong offense is a good defense. So improving the board is just increasing black's future risk, of leaving the anchor or trying to get around the outfield. So if we have to leave the shot anyway, it makes sense to make the 2 points. This is the strongest next point that we can make, bearing in mind that black has the anchor at the moment. So yeah, I like that, I think. But the 9 point does appear, it's attractive because it feels like we're priming the guy a little bit, but it just feels weaker. It's just not as valuable, I feel. But I mean, it's 50-50, right? But yeah, I would go with that. I'd fall on the theory of, like, if we're going to leave the risk anyway, might as well improve the position as much as we can.
So you're going for making the 2 point?
Yeah, I'll go for that.
Okay, so let's get to the solution.
Done.
And as before, you'll be pleased to see that you've got this one right as well.
Yeah, happy. What is it? Yeah, 10-2 looks weird. Oh no, it's 2 blots, isn't it? Leave a guy on the 2 point and on the 15.
Yeah, so I think that the problem with his play is that you make the 9 point, you're blocking black's 4s. So he can't come out with a 4, but he's got a good 4. He can move up from the back with a 4.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
And the top play when you make the 2 point is you give him a 6 to hit. And the 6 again is a good number already because he can move the back checker out with a 6. And what you're saying is that if he does roll his hitting number, he's probably got to give up the anchor to hit. So that's potentially giving white some counterplay to attack on the 5 point if black's forced to give it up. Whereas if you leave your block deep in the board on the 2 point, you're just giving him a free hit. He'll just hit you with any one, not have to give anything up. I think the other point you made is also very sensible, is that there's going to be some hitting sometime in this game when someone tries to get off the anchor. So having the stronger board is going to help you in the long run. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. So Black's achieved his objective. He's managed to escape all his back checkers, so he's understandably thinking of doubling.
Yeah, this actually looks kind of similar to the other one where we had a deep anchor. So I'm really a bit worried. What is it, 15 pips? Well, that's quite a lot already, isn't it? 10% would be 9. So it's already getting up there to a good holding game cube with lots of contact. So basically we have to win the race because getting a shot is slim. And even if we hit a shot, you can see this board is not good enough to win with. But how can we get into the race? We're never going to just jump off the anchor because we're going to be in big trouble. So this looks really, really bad for white, I think. Black, obviously I would just cube because we're at 15 pips and we could just run home safely now, but we have enough equity and we don't win enough gammons. So yeah, I think it just looks like a double pass. I think with a deep anchor like this,
Okay,
not
so
enough wins.
Let's get on to the answer.
Uh,
So correct action is double pass, and over the board it went double take. And I have to say, when I first saw this, I was thinking white should take this, but black's got 3 stragglers to bring home, and they're still quite a long way from his home board. He doesn't have a point in this third quadrant to land them on conveniently. So as white, I'd be expecting to get quite a few indirect shots here. And that combined with the fact that I've got the anchor and the race isn't too bad, I was thinking that white should probably have a comfortable take here. But I think you've highlighted the other defect in white's position, that he hasn't made the 5-point yet. So even when he manages to roll his hitting number in the outfield, it might end up very badly for him. But he's not like he's hit and he's won. Black might come in and hit him somewhere else, and white might lose a gammon. So
yeah, never comfortable leaving the anchor here, are you?
no, so that whenever you leave the anchor, you're giving black attacking opportunities when he's got a 5-point board. So maybe if worst comes to worst, he enters with 2-1, so he comes in with a 2 and he breaks the 3-point and hits you and says, well, okay, I rolled a bad number, so let's randomize the position and we still might win a gammon. So yeah, you're spot on that white should run a mile from this game, even with the fact that he's behind on the score. He should be pleased to get out of this. But he did take, and he paid the ultimate price because now he lost the gammon. So now he's trailing 7-1.
Yeah, I can understand that. I've taken way too many of those. Okay, so this new position, it's 7-1 right now. So I can't see the bottom, I can just see the top 7. Okay, white. Yeah, okay, now I can see it. That's good. Oh, great. So we got this position. Okay, this is a position that I like to categorize as advanced anchor plus. So that means like we've locked up the advanced anchor, taking away the 2 game plans of our opponent to.
Yeah, so he can't prime you and he can't blitz you. So you've assured your defense is good and you're going to be in the game for a long time.
Yeah, it also gives us the freedom to expand and develop on the other side. Very little risk. So here, I mean, we've got everything going for us in terms of the stronger board. He's got 3 blots, which means there's going to be lots of gammons, and we've got that advanced anchor. So yeah, the cube is very easy, especially if we're losing in the match. Like this is the moment we've been waiting for, a chance at winning some points. So send it here before you lose your market. You can see that like 1's hit, 2's hit, 3's hit, 4's, 5's, 6's. All the numbers play really well. And
6 doesn't seem to do anything, but
6,
you can't have everything. Like you say, all the other 5 work okay, and if you roll a 6, well, that's unfortunate, but you don't want to miss your market with the other 25 numbers.
Right, exactly. And even if you roll a 6 or whatever, you're still winning, right? You still have a better position. So although you can see that black has like developed as a 7-point little prime, the race is close. Really wants to avoid like gammonish positions leading in the match, and this is exactly falls under that bracket. So as black, I would just run away and play from 7-2, and that has to be a better deal, or has to provide me more match winning chances than getting involved in this position, I would think.
Yeah. Okay. So let's move on to the answer. So you're exactly right. It should go double pass, and the problem was that Petco didn't actually double this position. And I think you summed it up perfectly. That you can see for next to what I call the big green pill on the left-hand side, it has what's called an N number, which is the cubeless equity. So if the game was played to a finish without anyone ever being allowed to double, white is winning slightly over half a point. So if he doubles the stake, then he'll be winning slightly over 1 point if black can never use the cube against him. And certainly at the score, you can see, well, black's going to have a tough job recubing to 4 when he's got his 6-point lead, and he's threatening when he redoubles to get an 8-point lead. White's virtually going to be saying, well, virtually any winning chances I'll be retaking to 4. So black gets very little usage from owning the cube, and white's Gavin price is going to be slightly higher because he's so far behind. He's really keen on winning 4 points. And I think the other thing worthy of mention is that white's got both 5 points. And I often say to people, when you hold both 5 points, you should certainly be thinking about doubling. So by all means, think about doubling and decide that it's not good enough yet. But you have to stop and say, well, things are going well here. That I've got this defensive 5 points. I can't get primed. I can't get blitzed. Maybe something good will happen here. Maybe I'll point on him and he'll fan, or I'll be able to hit and cover. So Petco definitely missed the boat here. If you're 6 points behind, you've got to try and make them up in 2s and 4s and not just in 1s.
Mm-hmm.
So next problem. So white managed to hit on the 4 point and then cover his 3 point, but black came in with a very good 4-5 to hit in the outfield on the 9 point. So now white is on the bar and thinking of doubling.
Aha. So we made the 3rd point. I don't think that too much has changed from white's perspective. We're still down in the match. We still have all those good things going for us, like the stronger board, the 3 blots, and lots of rolls that would catapult us into an extremely valuable position. So I think white's decision is still easy, just double and try and win some points. I think you made two good ideas that you mentioned, which was the cube is like dead for black because he's leading so much in the match, and the Gavins are just so much more valuable for the trailer. Petco here. As black, as I know I would have been passing with the roll before in the match, I would be very tempted still to pass because of all the same reasons. But at the same time, it feels like it's got better. Kind of escaped the guy. Yeah, we're 16 pips up in the race. We hit the guy. So I'd be very tempted to take this one. It's difficult. You're leading in the match like this. I really wouldn't know for sure. But again, if I was passing last roll, I would probably just give it up and keep the lead in the match.
Okay, so we need to see the answer, Julia, because Seb's finally got one wrong, which is a great relief. Because
yeah,
if he ended up getting them all right, we'd realise that it was hopeless. We'd never be able to compete. So that's why I wanted to immediately highlight that he's got one wrong. So yeah, this exchange, as you said, it's helped black because he's gone ahead in the race. But the major factor that's changed things is white's on the bar. So he doesn't have any good 6s when he enters. But even if he rolls a good number, he's got to use half his roll to come in from the bar. So other numbers that he'd think would be really impressive, where he'd sort of make the bar or make the 4 point, that he can't do it because he's got to waste half his roll coming in. So he's effectively half a tempo behind where he was in the previous position, saying that it was all gung-ho and that he could go forwards.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, makes sense.
Surprisingly, if Petco missed the double last time when he had the really good position, now he's been hit, he's quite clearly deciding that if he wasn't good enough last time, he's definitely not good enough here.
Mm-hmm.
So,
4's triplicated, I guess.
Yes. So if we go on to the next problem. So now Petco rolled a 4-5 to come in and hit and jump out. and black stayed on the bar. So now we can use Gavin's rule again and say that we've had our experience, that we've had our hit ban. We should be very happy with the world.
Yeah, it should definitely be happy. Psychologically, you just double as well. Yeah, it feels like the same kind of things apply. I mean, now that we've hit him and escaped the guy, it feels like we can't really lose, because I can't imagine we wouldn't be able to cube efficiently after almost any sequence.
Yeah, I think the only thing that can rescue black is maybe if he anchors on the 4-point next turn.
Yep. But that's kind of slim. So I guess I could take a roll here. Wouldn't cost too much. Easier just to win the gammon from here than the other one. Not too much work. Yeah, I think I would play on. I'd be very tempted to play on.
Yeah. Okay. So you're right. So let's have a look at the answer. So the other thing to say is now this being behind in the match really encourages you to play on. So you don't. If you look at it from black's point of view and say, well, okay, black comes in with 1-3, say, and he anchors and saves his other blot, he's still definitely not going to be mad keen on taking and saying, well, okay, I've got my 6-point lead. I'll see if I can lose 4 points and let the other guy catch up. Then he's going to love just getting out for 1 point and saying, well, this game went badly, but at least I'm out for 1 point. So this conversely means that, well, white can more happy to play on, but if black even improves a bit from here, he should still be passing anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And what we've seen here is a systematic set of errors from Petco. Is he's basically misassessed the position. So if he'd have got the first doubling decision right, then all his problems would have disappeared. You know, so he wouldn't have got the second problem where he missed the double, and he wouldn't have got the third problem where he missed being too good. So the answer is when you're a long way behind in a match, you've got to double relatively early and get your opponent in so that you can catch up. Okay, let's move on to the next one.
Okay.
So can I make a small request, Julia? Can you drag the Zoom box slightly to the right? Because it's just with the answer positions, it slightly obscures the position. So perhaps it's just me, but I've got a box marked 7 on it that's slightly obscuring part of the board.
I think you can move that, Jules. Or drag it. I think you can.
It's just me, it's not Julia, right?
Yeah, I think you can drag that.
You can move it separately.
Okay, so it's me, sorry. Well, forgive me then.
Try.
Okay, so let's get to the problem. So Petco eventually won his point last time, so now he's trailing 7-2, and black has a double 4 to play.
Okay, nice number. Again, we got our advanced anchor plus some stuff. Lots of options. Generally, we're trying to find, the play or the candidate move which provides the most value or does the most number of good things. But here we got lots of things doing good things. So how do we break this down? If we hit, which is a massive value because it stops him extending the prime, but it's a massive gain in the race, right? We're up 17 after this roll. After hitting, we basically established ourselves as not only having escaped the 2 back checkers, but also as the leader just coming home. So if we hit, we could hit and make the 5 point, but then we have 2 blocks around. Don't know if we need that. What else we could do? We could hit, make. Oh, that's clean. I like that. Yeah. So we could just make the 16 and then just make the 9 with 2. And then we have a really nice distribution of spares and builders to then improve, make it 7, 5, and 4 very easily. No risk. We've escaped both the back men and everything's done. So that's all the value and no risk with future improvement. The other way, we could get hit back. Maybe getting.
Okay, so let me suggest a third play to you. It's just 13 to 5 twice.
No, we wouldn't do that because I can hit and do that as well. So that's more valuable. If I'm going to make the 5 point, I would hit and make the 5 point. I think, or I'd want to. If I just made the 5, then he could just make the prime of the 4, or well, the race is going to be much closer then. So no, I would want to hit, get up in the race, and just start running home.
Yeah. Okay, so let's move on to the answer.
Oh dear.
And you're spot on.
Oh, I thought I thought you brought it up because it was the answer.
No, it's I just like to hear your views on what you think is best play, and if you don't sort of go on to looking at the bad play that he picked, I just want to sort of ask you to consider that and say why you didn't like it.
Yeah, makes sense.
So the other thing this one highlighted to me was this great rule you came up with. You talked about maximum value, and when you first told me of this rule, you said that what you want to do is to find a play where all four parts of the play are improving your game. And the problem with the play he made of making the 5 point is you can say, well, 13 to 9 is good, that makes the 9 point, and then I use 2 more 4s to make the 5 point. That's great, everything is fine with 3 of the 4s. What do I do with the 4th one? And 13 to 9 is really just useless. It's saying, well, okay, I've got a good game, so I'll just move my last spare from the midpoint I don't want to do, and I'll create another block so white can hit me if he gets lucky. So it's like you've done 3 good things with part of your roll, and then you've given part of it back with the 4th one. Whereas your play, as you say, is such a beautiful play because you escape your 2 back checkers from the nascent prime. You get your big race lead. You've converted from state 2 to state 3 because you've jumped his prime, and you make the 9 point. So now you've got another point on the other side of the board. And as you say, lots of builders on the 6, 8, and 9 to make a new point. And the overall thing, as you say, is that you've left no blocks. So you don't have to worry at all by white rolling any jokers. There's no good roll for white that he can't come in and hit you or make another point in board or anything because your position is completely secure. So you get a good game with no downside at all. And that's what makes it really such a good play. Okay, so next problem.
Yeah, nice move.
Black to play a double 5. So this is the same game. So you can see that Ellie made his play of making the 5 point, but White's managed to escape and come out to the 7 point. So we've got a mutual holding game of some sort. And Petco, as White's been hanging on in this game by just not leaving any shots and saying, well, okay, if I don't leave you a shot, you can't hit me. So my holding game is secure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so following the theory we touched upon earlier about wanting to break contact or release contact when you're up in the race, after this double 5, we're definitely winning the race. Just getting home is enough. So the problem point is the midpoint. So I'd be very happy to clear that immediately down to the 8, and then all that hard work is done.
Yeah,
that would leave him.
As you say, you've got race lead. You want to minimize the contact and win the race. So 13 to 8 twice.
Mm-hmm.
And what's the best thing to do with the other half of the play?
Well, then I would have a look and see, I guess, that I don't have many options. I could just play the guy in 15-5, or I could play 20 to 10, I guess, but there's 2 blocks that way. And what I like about having the guy back on the 20 point is that it's making his life really awkward. It's really difficult for him to play against the 5 point board that I have. So I want to keep that guy there and maximize pressure on his position. Might pick up some shots, might pick up another guy, but it also just gives me one block, one man back to worry about bringing home afterwards. So although it seems very simple, maybe a bit boring, I just swing the guy from 15 in to the 5 with the last 2.
Okay, so how about the other play, which is just following the losing contact plan, which is 13 to 8 twice, and then just playing the back guy round as far as he will go, so 20 to 10.
Yeah, but you see that releases the 4 checkers, the 8 and the 9 point that White has, which is really horrendous. But it also just gives, I think, shots. I mean, he could hit sometimes, and we won't always have automatic or direct returns. I just feel like it gives us more work to do on the next sequence, but also just lets him off scot-free, basically. So less valuable.
So let's look at the answer. So again, you've found the best play. So the 13 to 8 is common to both plays, your play and his play. And the other thing you didn't mention about this position is that it's easy to see when you know the answer afterwards, is that White's got a TMP position. TMP means too many points. So of his 15 checkers, he's got 7 points. So he's got no spares to move. So whatever he moves next time, he's got to give up a point and maybe leave a blot in the process. So your instinct has said you want to stay back on the 20 point, and this is the reason why that you're saying, well, okay, whatever he rolls, he's probably going to cough up a shot somewhere, and you're going to love that when you've got your super strong board.
Bonus.
Finally, the other thing is to say that now you've rolled this big double, you're so far ahead in the race that you should be thinking of doubling next turn. And you're saying, well, what can stop me from doubling next turn? And if you leave two blocks lying around, you can see, well, okay, if he rolls double 3 or 3-6, then suddenly he can turn the game round and you can't double him next time. But if you play with only one blot and have everything safe, then maybe you can just double from the bar if he gets one of these things.
Yeah.
Okay. So next one is Ellie made his running play and got missed. So now he has a cube decision.
Yeah, I see. So this is kind of like he's just about to run home. He's 23 pips up. He's miles ahead. So if he just safeties the guy, it's over. But you can see that Petco, even if he hits, there's no way. Well, maybe he doesn't even want to hit. So his only way he can win is by hitting a checker. Race is dead. But his board is not in a shape where he can maximize any value from hitting. So I would give up as white, and as black I would just be happy to cash because there aren't many gammons, but I could still lose some random sequence.
Yeah, I mean, I think as black that if both sides roll double 3, that wouldn't appeal to black at all.
That would do it, yeah. So yeah, I think it's just a cash, this one.
Yeah, exactly. So let's move on. And the answer is quite clear here that white's got to just avoid these slight losing chances by catching, but it's going to be a monster mistake for white to get involved in this game when most of the time he's just going to lose the race. But if he doesn't lose the race, he might find himself getting gammoned in exchange for that. So next problem.
Oh.
So now Petco as black is leading 8-2, and white is the one with the cube decision.
White again got a good position. Very volatile, and with 21 pips up, so this is like a race plus position. Well, apart from the guy back, he has 3 blocks, which 2 of them are already on the bar. So everything applies from before. Like we're losing the match, and we have a positive position, which loads of good stuff can happen. And yeah, we should cube and high five ourselves and be happy. So the double from white, I think, is obvious. As black, I also feel like the same things apply as before. Like I'm leading 8-2. I know my take point's going to be much higher than normal, especially in gammonish positions, going to be much higher. But I know I win a lot of games from here. You know, I have a better board. I have a bit of a structure. He has a blot on the ace. Maybe he doesn't cover. So I really want to take as black because I can see I can win a lot of games, but I recognize that when I lose, I'm going to get gammoned a lot. So I would just give up as black and be consistent in my trying to keep.
Yeah, so I think as white's position, you have to double this because you've still got a lot to do. It's very volatile. You've got 2 black checkers on the bar. Maybe he's going to come in with a double. Maybe he'll hit you next time. Maybe he'll make an anchor. Who knows? But you can certainly see from white, if you roll well here, you roll something like 3-2 or 5-2, and you just pick and pass. That might be the last time black plays, and you just close him out and win a gammon without any play. So let's move on to the answer. So it's definitely right for white to double. He's got a double based on his threat here, that it's such a volatile position. And black has a close take pass. So again, I'll point you in the direction of the N number next to the big green pill on the left, which is 487. So what that's saying is that black would have a comfortable take in a money game. He'd rather lose twice 487 if he can never recube than 1 point if he passes. But the computer's saying that the score is telling us that we have to give this up because we've got our good match lead. We're 6 points ahead. We don't want to get involved in finding out if we're going to lose 4 points or maybe we get backgammoned with 3 on the bar. So just give him 1 point and move on to the next game and hope your luck's better. So next problem.
Yeah, even more of a dead cube at that score than before.
So now score is 8-3 in black's favour.
And black on roll. Okay, so black has a really nice position, but we're winning 8-3. So normally our strategy is to think about the value of the decision in a money game, isn't it? And then to adjust to the score.
Yeah.
So for money, this is obviously just an easy cube. Probably. But this score, you know, we're really like careful about giving it away and getting into this position where he can, you know, probably recube with a shot, maybe a direct shot, and snatch 8 points. You know, we still have to clear the 18 point and do some work. So we need a lot more than usual to be doubling. And we might have it. We might have the winning chances with the solid prime. Again, it's kind of like one of those where the race is even at the moment, but like, can white get into the race? Definitely not if we make the 7 point. But even if we didn't make the 7 point, white's going to struggle to get into it. But I think that, the take has got to be very easy at the score. I'm not sure if I would double as black. I guess it depends on my opponent.
Okay, so let's move on to the answer.
Yeah, I wouldn't be.
So you've done very well on this. So you can see the computer says it's basically a toss-up whether you double or not. And just for people at home that don't understand this, if you look next to the green pill again, on the left-hand side of that, there's a funny yellow-colored arrow, and that means the computer is saying, based on the number of games I've rolled out, it's not sure about the decision. So if it's a green pointer there, then that says the computer's certain about the decision. And if it's a red pointer, it says you need to do more work to find out. But here it's saying it's completely undecided whether you should be doubling or not. But as far as white is concerned, when he is doubled, I think the score features a lot here. So you can see black has got 8 out of 13, so he's 5 away. So as white, if you pass, you let him get to 4 away. So he's effectively maybe only one game away from winning the match. So I have a rule that says that you should never let your opponent get to 4 away without a fight. So you'll see the right decision is double take. Again, we'll point at the end number of 574 and says what that's showing is that if it was a money game, black would have a very strong double and white would have difficulty taking it. But here it's white saying, well, I can't let him get to 4 away. Maybe I take this, maybe I'll get lucky. So cube action was correct by both players. It went double take. So if we get to the next problem. So Ellie as black has done what he wanted. He's managed to make the bar point. He's got his solid 5 prime, but he's left a blot in the process, which white has conveniently been able to hit.
Yeah, good roll. Now, of course, we'd like to step up to the edge of the prime with the 1, but much better to hit here with the 1 and take away all his chances of progressing, and maybe
Yeah, I think if you don't hit him, the problem is he's threatening to roll a 5 and make a 6 prime. So you have to stop him doing that no matter what the cost.
Of course. So the question is, after we hit, what's the plan? And I guess the plan would be just to make the 3 points. So after we hit 13 or 12, we can move that guy. We can keep going with that guy to the 9 point. That gives us 4 builders to make the 3. And I don't see any reason not to do that. So that would be my play, yeah.
Okay, so the other play is to play 2 checkers from the midpoint. So you hit and come down with the 3. So you miss out on the builder, but you give less shots because you're duplicating his entering 3 with his hitting 3, rather than giving him the 3-2 to hit you as well.
Yeah, that's true. I wasn't even thinking about his hitting numbers because I was just thinking about maximizing our position.
Okay, so let's have a look at the answer. And your play is again spot on. And I think the key here is you've correctly highlighted that getting the extra builder on the 9 point is so important that usually when you can get an extra builder to make a key point, it virtually doubles your number of rolls to make that point. And here getting a good 6 is good. So 6-2, 6-3, 6-5, you've transformed into good numbers. And the other thing we should be thinking about here is, because we're so far behind in this match, we're trailing 3-8, is we're looking for some opportunity to redouble him. So certainly if we have the 4 builders, if he stays on the bar, maybe we should be thinking of doubling next time. So I think here you just have to take the chances and say, well, okay, let's try and win the game. And if we survive next roll, then we're certainly in much better shape having the 4 builders. And it's really, I can't count the shots, but I think it's maybe 1 or 2 shots more. So it's not a great risk in terms of saying, well, you've got to leave lots of shots anyway with lots of blocks. So let's try and win the game when we get away with it.
Mm-hmm.
So he made this safe-ish play of minimizing his builders. So then we get to the next decision.
Yeah, I like the attitude of looking at it like that. You know, I'm going to lose the games I'm going to lose anyway, but the games where it works out, I'm going to make sure it does work out.
Yeah, I mean, one of the swings is people like to count the shots and say, well, okay, that makes a difference. This is 1 or 2 shots less. But you think to yourself, well, okay, if I'm trying to make the 3 point, am I prepared to risk 2 shots to make it? Would you be worried about your opponent rolling 6-3 from the bar and hitting you? And the answer is no, you wouldn't. You'd say, well, if I can get another builder for only 2 shots, that's great value.
Yeah, and you can see now we would love to have that guy on the 9 point threatening to make the 3. So Black danced, which was very kind of him because it was an important moment, and we are 8-3 down, holding the cube. So let's think about it. If we lose anyway, we're down 10-3. If we lose a gammon, we're down 12-3. So yeah, when we redouble, we basically kill the gammons, the value of the gammons against us, while making the gammons that we win super valuable. 8 points getting us to 11, right? 11-8 ahead. And we could just roll 1-6 now. We could roll 3-2 now, 5-2 now, 5-3 now. And obviously half his distribution, he just dances again. So it's a bit of a score thing, but I would definitely redouble. This has got to be the moment I was waiting for to spring back in this match.
Yes, I think like you, that I'd feel much happier if I had my builder on 9 rather than 10. But I guess in an alternative universe, it would be here to be on the bar. So perhaps that's not the right way to think about it. So let's get to the answer. And it is double take. It's a big double because it's so volatile. So I think the other variant is to think, well, okay, as white, if you just roll a 1, you get to the edge of the prime, how's black going to feel then if he's on the bar when you're threatening to roll 6 and open up the gammon losing opportunities for him? So it's a case where you've got to seize the moment and say, well, okay, if I lose this game, I'm probably going to lose the match. So let's assume I'm going to win the game and see if we can win the match when we get lots of points. And again, let's look at the numbers next to the green pill, and you'll see the N number here is virtually 0, 0.009. So you can see it's virtually an even game, that black's winning more games than white, but white's winning more gammons. So it's, as far as white is concerned, it's saying, well, the big plus in this position is the cube is getting high. The higher you get the cube, the less games white has to win to catch up his deficit in the match. So it's simply saying we're a long way behind, that getting the cube on 4, if we could start the game with the cube on 4, that would be big progress for us as white. So we can't do that, but we have got a position that's almost level. So we want to start the cube on 4. Okay, so next problem. So things didn't work out for Petco. He ended up losing a gammon. So now he's 12-3 down Crawford and trying to prolong the match. But he does have a good position here.
Mm-hmm. Right, yeah, with Crawford and we're even away, so gammon is definitely helpful, and we've got a gammonish position. Here it looks like we're just trying to run home and just get those back checkers round.
Yeah, we're 50 plus up in the race, so
so don't say anything naughty. I think. Oh no. Let's see. It should be live now. Oh, they're still doing a match. Oh my God, I don't know. They're doing that. Yeah, I don't understand. So I hope I'm not. I hope I'm not.
Racing sounds like a good plan to me.
But we still want to kind of cover the board and exploit the weakness of his position. So the natural play for me just looks like we run to the midpoint because that's another builder for maybe the 7 or the 8, but it just keeps everything connected. After the 3, 16 to 13, I don't see another 4. So yeah, I would just play 20 to 13 and keep everything moving.
Yeah, so it's a good thing. This is another one of Gaz's rules that perhaps we're all gaining from Gaz's knowledge, is the idea that when your opponent's on the bar, that this is the time to take the risk. This is to exploit your good fortune. So you've hit him, he stayed on the bar. Now is the time to be taking the risk because he's the best he can hope to use half his roll to come in and half his roll to hit you. So you take the risk now rather than you wait for him to come in and he's got his whole roll to attack you when you take the risk. So let's go on to the answer. So Petco lost the plot here. He decided that he wanted to play the 4 of 11 to 7. So that I think is a really bad idea because you certainly don't want the point 6 away from Black's anchor, but to turn a point into 2 blocks is a pretty radical move. And as far as Black's concerned, he'd love to be able to come in and hit one of those 2 blocks. That Black's problem here is you can see that he's got too many checkers on his 5-point, basically. They're the ones he wants to get into play. So if you leave 2 blocks in front of that stack of checkers, you're inviting problems. So next problem, so this is actually the final problem, I think. So the game's gone on, so White's actually achieved his goal. He's managed to move his 11 points to the 7 points. So now he's not only got a strong board, but a strong prime. But Black's managed to come in.
Yeah, made the
White
second
has
anchor. 4-3. Okay, so we would have been happy to hit that guy on the 11 if we could have, and that would have helped us get round. But it looks the same to me. Like the midpoint is the safe outpost connecting the back checkers with the forward position, and that's going to be the point we're aiming to get all the back checkers first to the midpoint and then home right to the 7 and the 6 and to bear in. So not making the midpoint would just separate the army and make it very difficult, I think, to bring them home safely. So I would just again play 20 to 13 and link everybody up.
Excellent. Okay, so let's see what the computer thinks. So yes, you hit the nail on the head. So Petco's play 13 to 6 obviously is much safer than your play, but as you highlighted, the problem is as White that we've got a strong home board, we've got a strong prime, we've got the best anchor on the 20 point, but this problem with 13 to 6 is we just evacuate the outfield. We say to, as White, we're saying, well, we're doing well on the left-hand side of the board, but Black's going to have all the right-hand side to himself. So now is the time to say, well, okay, we got the strong board, the strong prime, that's going to protect us if he attacks us. We've got to try and keep our forces communicating. We've got to try and find some way to link the back checkers to the front checkers. And the way to do that is to establish that point in the outfield and say, well, now we've made our stand in the outfield. We're going to be threatening to hit him if he ventures out into the outfield again next time. And that's going to have a lot of force with our strong board. So it's a good example, this position, in terms of saying that you want to keep your checkers connected. So if you play the 13 to 6, you can see, well, you've got 11 checkers at the front, you've got 4 checkers at the back, but a mile distance between the 2 of them. How are you actually going to get your back checkers round to the front checkers? So this is the last problem, and it turned out that with this play that Petco actually ultimately ended up losing the game and losing the match. So that's it for today, if everyone's happy.
Alrighty, great. Thanks for that, Jules.
No, well, you did really well. I was very pleased you got one wrong, because as I say, otherwise you'd be Invincible and people would say he was cheating.
Great. Well, thank you both. It's been a really interesting evening. Thank you very much. A good evening to everyone on YouTube. And just to let you know, we've got quite a few broadcasts this weekend. So coming up later this evening, we have the semi-finals of the UBC UK Galaxy Championships, which features Seb playing Dickie Biddle, and there will be live commentary from Tim Cross and Simon Bargett for that. Then we should be broadcasting the final of the UBC Championships tomorrow, and on Sunday broadcasting highlights from the Team UK men versus women match. So there will be plenty of backgammon for you.
Well, that's brilliant. I think you're doing a grand job. That we might not be able to get out, but as long as we can watch good backgammon, it makes up for there being nothing on TV as usual.
Indeed.
Right,
Thank you very much, Julian.
Thank you all, and have a good evening.
Yes, well, I've got to rush off because apparently the government says I should follow the science, so I'm off on my way to it.
All the best,
Okay.
everybody.
All right. All the
Cheers.
best,
Take
everyone.
care.
Cheers.
Bye
Take
then.
care.